It was about a year ago where we heard a news story with Matt Ouimet talking about the future of dark rides at Cedar Fair, and there was a quote in there where he said something along the lines of, "You can expect to see a dark ride at every single Cedar Fair park in the future." From that article, we could assume that they were talking about Triotech, especially after the success of Voyage to the Iron Reef and Wonder Mountain's Guardian. However, some time has gone by, and so that has led some of us to wonder, what the heck happened to that? What happened to the Triotech dark rides? You had Wonder Mountain's Guardian and then Voyage to the Iron Reef, and then we haven't heard of them since. So did that whole thing just kind of go out the window? Can we no longer expect a dark ride at every single Cedar Fair park? Or if we are going to see that, how much longer do we have to wait before we're going to start seeing some of these? So let's break some of this down a bit. Now, normally, when we think dark rides, we think of a motion-moving attraction in a building where you're going to see special effects. Maybe you have a blaster of some sorts, but in general, it means that your vehicle is moving. However, we have also seen the action theater taken over so they can make room for a Plants vs. Zombies ride and a Mass Effect 4D ride. So that begs the question, does Cedar Fair consider these dark rides? If so, then maybe when they said you can expect a dark ride at every single Cedar Fair park, they were talking about one of these, or like a real dark ride. Because if you've experienced either of these attractions, which I'm fortunate enough to have experienced both Mass Effect and Plants vs. Zombies, you know that there is no vehicle. You're just sitting in a seat. With Plants vs. Zombies, you are actually shooting at something. Mass Effect, you're just staring at a screen watching it while your seat kind of vibrates and stuff. And so I find it interesting that Cedar Fair has done 2 action theater takeovers and then 2 Triotechs. And if you look at them, all 4 of these attractions are different. Wonder Mountain's Guardian is like a roller coaster hybrid, Voyage to the Iron Reef is like a true dark ride, and then the 2 action theater redos are different. So just kind of me taking a guess, I would say that Cedar Fair was testing out all 4 of these to see which ones worked and which ones didn't, and then that will determine what type of dark rides we will see in the future. So currently 4 Cedar Fair parks have a dark ride, if you are considering those 2 attractions dark rides. For the sake of this video, I'm going to assume that when Cedar Fair said that you can see a dark ride at every park, they were including those, but just kind of breaking this down bit by bit. I have experienced 3 out of the 4 of these attractions. The one I have yet to experience is Wonder Mountain's Guardian, and I'll be experiencing that this summer. But it's kind of interesting for me to think about the 3 that I've experienced and which ones I preferred the most. Interestingly, if you've followed my channel for a while, then you know I'm rather fond of the Mass Effect ride, and believe it or not, I actually preferred that over Voyage to the Iron Reef. My first Triotech I honestly was not that impressed with. It felt so much like a video game. You could see when the screen stopped and ended. It just didn't feel like a high quality attraction. It had a cool story and like the graphics were cool and all that. But if there's something I've learned about the amusement industry is that when you have your first kind of attraction like that, you take that feedback and data and break it down to figure out what works and what doesn't so that you can know what to do better in the future.
So we're getting a lot of good feedback. We're going to take all that and really want to perfect this one. If this one's right, you'll see a lot more of them.
And we know that there are some action theaters at some of these Cedar Fair parks that still haven't really been used yet. Take King's Dominions, for example. You have half of it being used for like a short little movie and then half of it's used for a haunt maze. But if you think about it, if Cedar Fair is still planning on putting one of these type of attractions in one of their parks, basically any park that has an action theater, I would expect something like Mass Effect or Plants vs. Zombies. Which one they'd get, I'm not quite sure. I think that the IPs that they chose for both of those attractions were kind of interesting. So I don't know if they'd go with the same theme or if they'd change it up. But I think the other thing to consider is that because this is a screen-based attraction, you can swap out the theme in favor of something different. I believe I heard something where Wonder Mountain's Guardian in October changes to like a zombie or like Halloween themed attraction. So it should be possible to take that concept and just kind of apply it to something else depending on if they partner with another video game or some other movie. Who knows, but I think it's still very possible that we'll be seeing some of these in the future. I did think it was kind of odd that in 2017 we aren't seeing a new one of these attractions open. I was rather caught off guard by that. I was expecting one to open at a Cedar Fair park for this year, especially after we had just heard that you can expect one at every single Cedar Fair park. But my guess for why they didn't do that is because they're just focusing on other attractions, or they're trying to figure out between the 4 of these which ones to send where. Now, this isn't really much of a prediction video, so I'm going to try and stay away from deciding which one should go where or which parks will or won't get it. All I can say is that if Matt Ouimet wants a dark ride at every single Cedar Fair park, even though we heard that a while ago and things might have changed, I would guess that that's still the case. Although the one thing I am interested in seeing is the ratio of which ones will be real dark rides like a Triotech or which ones will just be a retrofit of an action theater. And I think part of it really depends on the space available. I'm not sure that they're going to pull like a Six Flags and just build up an entire new building for a dark ride like with what they're doing with Justice League. It sounds to me like they'd probably want to use current available space. So like I think of Kings Island and that crypt building being available, like that would probably be a good space for a Triotech. But they also have an action theater, so I think Kings Island's kind of up in the air with that one. But as for me, I think just because I wasn't that impressed with Voyage to the Iron Reef, I'd be open to seeing more Triotechs in the future because I like that it's like an actual real ride and not just like a show. But I'd like to see kind of the quality improve or something done just a bit different to make it better. I don't know if it was just because I'd done Justice League real recently and was really impressed with that, so I was really underwhelmed with the Triotech. But I also wonder if Cedar Fair would possibly look for a different supplier for a dark ride, such as like Sally, and just drop Triotech altogether. It's really quite hard to kind of figure out what parks are planning for the future, especially with a topic such as this where there's so many different possibilities. But these are just some of my thoughts. So I just wanted to bring up this again, just kind of reiterate that idea that we could be seeing more dark rides in the future at Cedar Fair, but also kind of wondering, well, what has changed since then? Is this still possible? And again, I think it is. If Cedar Fair doesn't add any dark rides or dark attractions for the 2018 season, then I'll be kind of surprised, I believe. Obviously, they didn't give a time fit for when these could be happening, but it's my belief that we should be seeing at least one open for the 2018 season. And if that's not the case, then maybe Cedar Fair is just done with dark rides for a while. We won't know until it happens. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to post all your thoughts about this topic in the comment section below. And of course, stay tuned for more videos coming soon to Coaster Studios.